What's up, A to Z Sports Nashville? Happy Thursday morning. Got an exciting show for you this morning. And my pal Sam Phelan back in the saddle. It's been 3+ weeks since we had an Easton and Sam show, but we're back, baby, just in time for the final run up to the draft. Sam is back from distant lands, many journeys that he has been on. I'm sure he's here to tell us all about them. And today we're going to talk a little bit about two different things. At the open of the show, we're gonna do a little. I joked about this yesterday, and then it kind of ended up coming to fruition. I said maybe tomorrow we'll do a Q&A, but where Sam asks the chat all the questions to catch himself up to speed. And then it turns out we're gonna kind of sort of do that. We're gonna talk about the biggest things that happened while Sam was gone, get his reaction, some lightning round reaction to all of the things that happened, and then we're gonna dive into something that I'm kind of cooking on with the Will Levis situation, which I believe will result in a trade, and what that trade may be, where that trade may be to, what we think is the best landing spot. I need a little audience participation today on that front because I am working on my latest and maybe last mock draft of the cycle, and I'm trying to make a decision on it that ultimately, without spoiling too much, I'm gonna defer to the chat to help me decide how I structure this thing based on audience participation in today's episode. And then probably in a future episode, we'll go through what the actual mock draft looks like. So it's going to be an exciting one. A lot of ground to cover. Excited to be doing it here with you, Sam. Tell the folks what they need to do before we get started.
Hey, well, thank you for filling in so well while I was out on my journeys and my adventures. It's great to be back. And before we talk about my excursions, my time away, you got to share the show. All right. Let the A to Zites know Sam is back in the saddle here on a Thursday morning, ready to talk Titans. Share the show. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and hit that share button in the bottom right corner. If you're watching on YouTube, take that YouTube link, send it to a friend, a group chat, a Titans fan in your life. Let them know that they have to get the word out there. So share the show, leave a like on the show this morning as well. Easton and I can see that like counter. We need it to go up, up, up. It's not high enough. We don't want to get fired. We are on the hot seat for the first time in 3 weeks because it's the first show in 3 weeks we've done together. So
I've enjoyed so much job security. You had to show back up and then put me back.
Now that the heat is back on, so we have to leave a like on the show. So do all of that. You can go to Google as well. Leave us a 5-star Google review. We appreciate it before we kick it off here on a Thursday morning.
Yeah, let's get it started officially. Welcome into the A to Z Sports morning show live on a Thursday morning. Every weekday morning, we are here at 8 Central Time, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links tweeted out segment by segment on our Twitter feed at ATOZ Sports. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more Titans coverage, and also leave that 5-star Google review for us on A to Z Sports Google page. Got to thank our sponsors for making the show happen and helping you guys out at home. Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or WilsonCountyHyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine at boneandjointtn.org. And our friends at Bart Durham Injury Law. A crash can change your life forever, but help is just a click away at bartdurham.com. So, Samuel, you decided to drop a bunch of March Madness knowledge on us and then leave the country entirely.
Yep, that is what happened.
Did you watch any of that? Did you catch any of that?
Yeah, I caught the first round. Pretty much that's it. That's what I caught. The first round and the first day of the second round, kind of. I was in Chicago. I was getting married. My wedding was on the Sunday of the first weekend, so it was right in that round of 32. It actually ended up being perfect for me, Easton, because I went back to Chicago. I spent Thursday and Friday with some old friends of mine watching college basketball. Friday night, we got to watch Illinois roll against Xavier, get a big win in the first round of the tournament. We were pumped. And then my wedding was on Sunday, and Illinois played Kentucky and lost a tight game against Kentucky on Sunday. Disappointing result, losing in the second round, but it was perfect because I didn't even have to watch it, didn't have to think about it. It was just like the tournament ended for me.
Right.
right when my wedding came, and it was right when the tournament should have ended for me because Illinois got eliminated that day. So I did have a chance to kind of watch the Final Four just a little bit, but I was overseas, and sporting events start at 1 a.m. when you're overseas. So that was a little bit of difficult. It was more wake up in the morning, watch the highlights kind of a thing.
Babe, wake up! The Gators are on. Bork said, "Did he see how the SEC owned the whole tournament? Yeah, did Big Ten Sam get to see the SEC?" Performance that I don't know about owned, but I think that they performed appropriately for the hype that they came in with.
The SEC did well. It was looking rough early on for the SEC.
Yeah, I remember you just like the last tweet you sent before you went MIA. You're like, "Oh, classic SEC, falling apart."
They were falling apart.
Yeah, they did the Elite Eight, half of the Final Four, won the championship. No big deal.
I mean, it's not hard to be half the Elite Eight when you've got your entire league in the tournament, thanks to the committee. It's like
Good league,
allegedly. Florida did very well. Florida held their own. Yeah, that Final Four was amazing. Delivered completely. Really great games. Very disappointed for my Houston Cougars there, who I had a lot of money on all my bracket pools. I was basically in a position where all of my bracket pools, I would have won all of them had Houston won that game against Florida and won the title. So came up just short. That was devastating. But amazing games between Houston and Duke, Florida and Auburn, and then the national title game as well saved what was honestly a pretty boring tournament.
Yes.
If of all the marches for me to be sort of like tuned out for, the march where the SEC has the champion and 2 teams in the Final Four and it's really boring and all the best teams win, not a bad march to miss.
Last irrelevant question. The most exciting thing you did, the most exciting activity that we found.
I mean, exciting. There was a lot of great things. I would say
maybe enjoyable. Maybe the thing you were most surprised by. I don't know. What stood out?
I think exciting would have to be this. This is a hat right here from Crystal Palace FC of the Premier League. So I have a scarf sitting down there as well. Okay. I went to my first Premier League game while I was in South London, and it was incredible. I mean, I got lucky. I went to one of the best games of the entire Premier League season because it was Crystal Palace at Selhurst, one of like the oldest, smallest venues in all of the Premier League. They were playing their biggest rival in Brighton. So it was like a total grudge match between 2 teams. There were hundreds of police in the stands separating the Palace fans from the Brighton fans so that there was no like violence going on. I was sitting right in the singing section of the Palace group.
Right.
So we were singing and chanting the entire game. 3 red cards issued during the game.
Wow.
A 2-1 Palace victory. It had everything. It was absolutely electric. And I found out when I went down there, I kind of booked these tickets blindly. Didn't know anything about Palace, didn't know anything about the Premier League, whatever. The slogan for Crystal Palace is South London and proud. They're the Southsiders, and I'm a Southsider at heart. The Southside pride is something that is not new to me. So I kind of fell in love with Palace a little bit. It was a great time. So I think that was one of the most exciting events of the 2 weeks. But there was a lot of very fun adventures and excursions.
Well, good. And finally, Eric saw that you had a birthday. So happy belated birthday to Sam. Was that? Do you and Austin have birthdays a day apart? Is that what we've found out in the past couple of days?
I think so. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Because you were what? You were Monday or Tuesday?
I was Monday.
And I think he was Tuesday. So there we go. All right. Let's talk about, now that we're a full 9 minutes into the show, what we actually showed up to talk about, which is the Titans. Appreciate everybody's patience as we get reacquainted here after nearly a month apart. Sam, some things happened while you were gone. I wouldn't say you missed a ton in terms of the Titans. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on nationally with the draft and whatnot. But in terms of the Titans, there was really the highlight probably being the owners' meetings and the things that we learned from that. There have been some visits, obviously. So the first question we're going to ask on today's show to kind of get Sam back up to speed is, what is the most important Titans news from the past 3 weeks? What is the thing from the past month-ish, 3 weeks, that is the biggest storyline for you that you think we need to get Sam's reaction to? I'm going to send this in the chat right now.
This came about, Easton, because so when I was away in Fiji filming Survivor, Austin and I, like coming back to the United States was obviously a whirlwind on its own. 6 weeks away from like all of society, very overstimulating. And then you also have this aspect where I was trying to jump back into my job, and I had been 6 weeks away from the news cycle of professional sports, and that was very surreal for me as somebody who is checking box scores every single day on, numerous sports. I keep up with all the latest transactions. I always know what's going on. Even my favorite teams, like I got my phone back, and I went and logged into the MLB app to check on how the White Sox had been doing over the summer. And I knew that they had been bad. But what I was really stunned by was half the names that were on the active roster I didn't recognize because they were people that were like on other teams that they randomly got off a waiver claim. And so you come back and you're like, who is this? Who is it? And they're starting every day. It's a shock. And I was in Iceland for a large chunk of this trip while I was away, where you don't have much phone service. You really just have to wait to like go on your phone until you go to like a cafe that has Wi-Fi for a little bit, and you're on the other side of the world. So Iceland was definitely, I was super unplugged. And as Austin and I were talking about my return here this morning, we were kind of wondering, what if we did, a little bit of a simulation, just like Austin did for me when I got back from Fiji, a little bit of a feeling of like, hey, what did I miss? And I've seen some of it, but we can really get into it and I can react to some of it. So I need the chat to help me out and let us know everything that I missed. What was the most important storylines that I need to get caught up on and give you my opinion on?
Well, I'm going to go through the chat here and just see what we think. Out of the gate, Eric says the Cam Ward Pro Day. That happened while you were gone, right? You were gone?
Yeah. No, I don't know anything about this. So I saw one video of like Callahan, being all like
chummy.
Yeah, being way too chummy for my liking.
Right. All right. Yeah.
It was like, all right, man.
They had a good time down there. That was on a Monday. They went down for the pro day. It was a big deal that everybody, the whole contingent, the 4-pack of the GM guys, Callahan, Holtz, Hardigree, Jimmy Wyatt was down there. They sent the video team down there. Oh my goodness, the Titans media team is down there. And that went well.
They sent everybody.
They did send everybody. Everyone employed by the Titans went down there. And then that Friday, they went back down there for his private workout, which went well. And your boy reported that Amy went on that trip.
So they did a pro day, then went back down for a private workout with him in Miami.
Pro day Monday at Miami, private workout Friday at Miami. The private workout, they took the PJ because Miss Amy went down there with him.
Oh.
And your boy got to report that one. And that was some important news, and that went well. So that, that was kind of telling. And then the following Sunday or Monday, whenever the owners meeting started, that's when the owners meeting started. So that was kind of the most newsworthy chunk that you missed. Let's see. Titans Cal says the award's a lock. It's done. So, I mean, that was, you already leaning that way before you left. But
some of these people are saying, that was the biggest news thing. I mean, that I felt like that was a lock. We talked about that being a lock before I was gone. We've known that the award was a lock as the pick for
the A to Z morning show was there. Most of the rest of the world wasn't there when you left. Now they're there is kind of what has happened. So they've caught up to us.
I mean, you and I came back from the combine pretty much with an idea that like, it's going to be Cam Ward. So
let's see what else. As IR Hoshi says, Amy had a strong meeting with Cam Ward. The Titans canceling Shador and Hunter's private workout after that pro day last Friday. The new announcer, Titans have a new announcer, Taylor Zarzer. Don't know anything about him yet.
That had been rumored and announced or whatever before I left. So is that the new? Is that like
he is officially?
Has anything happened with that?
When the Titans actually announced it, and it's real. And I think they've kind of figured out a little bit about the structure of the job where he's going to be the full-time guy.
Yeah. So what is that? Is he doing the podcasting stuff as well?
I think he's involved in some media, but I still don't think I still don't know if he's going to do the full Mike Keith. I don't think it's possible to do the full Mike Keith thing. But I think previously we were wondering because he has other obligations with PGA Tour, SEC, broadcasting. We were wondering whether or not he would be able to be like a full-time guy or just a Sunday guy. And I believe he is going to be a full-time Titans guy now. So,
and what is the I guess the mood among the fan base about the Taylor Zarzor hire?
not great actually was kind of what I saw in terms of the initial reaction, just because I think no matter who it was, people were going to react kind of coldly to them at first, which I was a little bit disappointed but not surprised by. He seems like a great guy. I mean, he's got Jim Nance's ringing endorsement, so that's good enough for me. I think he's going to do a good job, and it is an unenviable situation to be trying to follow Mike Keith. So.
Yeah, and he's not local, right?
Well, I don't know. I think he and maybe his wife are from here, but he's not lived here recently. But now he's moving back here. I think. Let's hand up. I haven't super closely been following the announcer news. I don't care that much, but that's what I understand to be the case.
Okay. Yeah. The irreplaceable shoes to fill, as Lincoln says in the chat, or impossible shoes to fill. So not a huge surprise that there'd sort of be a lukewarm welcome for Taylor.
He'll do great. Give him one game. People will warm up to him. They'll love him. I'm not concerned. I think he'll do a great job. Again, if you've got Jim Nance's ringing endorsement, then you're fine by me. Daniel says the Titans' top 30 visits all being with day 2 people. We kind of talked about that yesterday. The fact that it's been kind of telling the range in which the Titans have been hunting. And that ties into what we're going to talk about later on the show, where I'm going to dive into how they can maybe get that 3rd round pick they're so sorely missing. Other than that, I'm seeing a lot of the same things. That they killed the Oilers jerseys. Did you see that?
Okay, I did see that quickly. So what? I think I have a take on this, but catch me up to speed real quick. So no Oilers jerseys, and their throwbacks are going to be what instead?
Well, so no, the Oilers jerseys are still the throwback. I overplayed my hand. They did not kill them. They just said we're not wearing them this year. And a part of this news was that they have changed the primary jersey from the navy blue to the light blue. So now the home primary jersey is the light blue. The navy blue becomes the alternate third. The whites are still the aways. And we don't know, but we think a part of the reason why the Oilers jerseys maybe have been shelved is because maybe they're a little bit not happy with how those two jerseys look basically the same. But the Oilers jerseys that one's way cooler. People buy that one way more, and they want to kind of be the Titans more than they are the Oilers. And so they're kind of trying to pump the brakes on that, maybe. I don't know.
So I misunderstood that. I saw the news very briefly. I had thought that they were, instead of wearing the Oilers jerseys, that they were sort of doing like the early 2000s light blue throwback.
They did a whole story time with like light blue is our identity, and that's why we're going back to light blue. That's what you saw, probably.
Okay. Well, I will say I hate that. I think it's their worst jersey in their package.
Austin thinks the same thing.
I think, I think it's kind of gross.
I like it, but I don't mind the light blue change. I do mind not wearing the Oilers jersey change. When some teams are going to wear like the Seahawks, awesome throwbacks, they're going to get to wear those 3 times this year. The Titans aren't going to touch the Oilers jerseys.
I get why they would go away from the Oilers, especially like they got embarrassed in those Oilers jerseys sometimes this past year. Like,
maybe that's what it is, though. It's just until we're a good football team, we're not wearing them. Which could be fair,
I think there could be something there, but I think if you are ownership right now and you look at the reaction from Titans fans, the fan base has loved the Oilers jerseys. Yes. Like that's a questionable move to go away from something that has such a high approval rating from the fans. Nobody was asking for a change like this. So,
Sam, the Oilers merch has been out for 2 full years now, and when you go to a game on Sundays, it's like half the stadium is wearing Oilers stuff.
Yeah,
it is easily the most highly selling, profitable thing they have.
I am curious what that decision came down to. And my take, I guess I can have this take now. I think they should do a throwback of like those early 2000s light blue. I think that is the best jersey in Titans history. Are those like OG Chris Johnson light blue on the shoulder patches jerseys? I think those are sick. I want more of those.
I like those as well. I'm seeing Austin in the comments here with something that he should know better than to say. That's not something we can talk about on the show. Austin, I'm deleting your comment. It's true though. We'll talk about it later. Okay. So that's, just making sure we're not missing anything here. That's kind of it. Besides the owners'
Seems like
meetings.
a little bit of a slow news cycle then.
Yeah, I mean it's the news kind of slows down after the combine, and you get to a lot of draft discussion, and there's a lot of draft news, but not news. So
Yeah, I mean
um,
the top 30 visits are certainly interesting. I put out an article yesterday on A to Z Sports. My initial reaction to the top 30 visits is that becomes the short list for me. Like when you start getting into rounds 4 and beyond, or even like if they end up picking in the third, if they do find a way to get themselves a third round pick, the short list of players that they're probably looking at, like look at the list of top 30 visits as the guys that could end up being Titans. If there's a player that you love, that you dream about being a Tennessee Titan, if he doesn't have a top 30 visit and there's other guys in the same like draft range at his position that are getting top 30 visits, it probably doesn't look too good for like their level of interest in that player.
Fair. I was talking to somebody in the Titans building yesterday about how, things have changed a little bit. It's not dramatic, but the way that the world has changed really since the COVID draft classes, where the rules have changed with the Zooms. And I got the specific rule on this yesterday. I really didn't know. So if anybody's curious, there's no limit on how many players you can Zoom with. You could Zoom with all 400 players on your board if you want to. Once per week per person, up to 3 weeks in a row, or up to 3 total weeks. So you can do up to 3 hours of Zoom with as many players as you want. So the guys that they have physically in, that they pay to fly in and spend time in the building and do the whole 30 visit thing, there's definitely a elevated level of intrigue there, and that's something to pay attention to. But I think something that we'll learn to pay not equal, but additional attention to is the virtual meetings, which we also have listed on the A to Z Titans meeting tracker. So I would pay attention to who's getting virtual meetings as well as kind of a secondary thing. And some of these 30 visit guys are getting 30 visits and virtual meetings, which means the Titans are really trying to boil down whatever the heck's going on with them. Pork says, damn, Easton just told his boss to F off. No, I did not. I told him he's flying a little too close to the sun with a comment that I wish we could talk about, but we can't. And he's dangerous. You're dangerous, Maverick. Okay. So really the last thing that I'm seeing people
I saw a couple of things here.
Okay, let's hear it.
One person says, Sam, you didn't hit on the Shador cancellation and what it means going forward with the number 1 pick. So the Shador cancellation, Easton, fill me in.
Well, they went to his pro day on Friday.
Yep.
And they sent more people to the pro day on Friday, which is kind of what Austin was alluding to with a little bit too much detail. They sent more people to the Titans pro day on Friday than they were previously going to. It was going to be more of a shell contingent without Brian Callahan, without Chad Brinker. Then Chad Brinker ended up going. Then another person that wasn't public wasn't going to go.
Did Callahan go?
No, but Callahan did not go. That part stayed the same. He did not go. There was Brinker and somebody else who it wasn't ever public ended up going when they weren't previously going to go on Friday. And then they they even sent Jim Wyatt and the media team. Apparently, Paul Karski reported the media team was there, just like Miami. So keeping up appearances, right? And then we saw a bunch of video and content, and they're chumming it up. And oh, look, they're talking to Deion Sanders and Shador and all these things. And then on Saturday, like 12 hours later, it was announced that the Titans and the Sanders camp had mutually agreed to cancel their previously scheduled private workout for Shador and Travis, which was going to be at some point this week, probably like Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever. Okay. And so there was kind of that juxtaposition of they're doing more to keep up appearances on Friday, and then on Saturday they're just giving up the game entirely. And what's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, that reads to me as Shador doesn't want to meet with the Titans because the Titans probably are set on Cam Ward being the pick. That's how that reads to me initially, as my initial reaction to that. So I think, they probably sent more people to make sure, keep up appearances, maybe to just do some extra due diligence on seeing him in person, maybe. They had conversations with Shador. They probably, were leaning towards Cam, and it gets to this point of, all right, let's not waste anybody's time here, especially for Shador, right? Shador now, if he feels like the Titans are not in play for him as a potential landing spot, he would like to probably spend his time working out and talking and meeting with other teams that he thinks could realistically draft him. So that is my initial read on what might have happened there.
All right. That was kind of the read from everybody, and I think that's what it is. I think I think that's just the fact of the matter. So
yeah. One more thing, Al says update Sam on free agent moves while he was away. Is this like a joke comment that there were no free agent moves while I was away, or
unless I'm just forgetting something? Yeah, no, nothing.
All right.
Nothing. No, not that I know of. So.
All right. Well, then I think I'm all caught up. Good to know I didn't miss too much.
Yeah, you didn't miss too much. What we are going to talk about now is kind of the last bit of sort of news we got from the owners' meetings. I believe it was Chad Brinker addressed the Will Levis report that you and I reacted to right before you left from Josina Anderson about, and I forget what exactly she said, but we kind of made fun of it as a report. What exactly is this? Talking about how Will Levis had come up in conversations she had heard, ongoing trade conversations around the league.
Okay.
And he said that is a false report, not true. We have had no conversations with anybody about trading Will Levis. He's on the team right now. We plan on having him on the team. Blah, 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 blowing smoke. And respectfully. And I want us to talk about how, yes, that probably was true. That at the point of the owners' meetings, they probably hadn't had any actual formal conversations with folks about Will Levis being traded. Yet, we have all kind of agreed here on A to Z that he is going to be traded sooner or later. We kind of think sooner, or at least Austin and I have talked about how we kind of think it's liable to happen maybe sometime before the draft. That's kind of where I am leaning, maybe during the draft or during draft week. And I want to take us down a little journey the rest of the show on a couple of questions, where we think he could go and what we think he could fetch.
Okay.
And we'll do all that here in just a minute after I tell our friends about our friends over at the Bart Durham Injury Law Center, where they believe a crash can change your life forever, but help is just one click away at bartdurham.com. Your big truck wreck is their fight for justice, and their injury law team of attorneys can meet with you 24/7 to get your legal questions answered at 615-242-9000. They believe that you deserve to be paid, and they can meet with you not just wherever, but whenever is most convenient, including virtually over the phone. So visit the website, bartdurham.com, for current news, blogs, and to contact or live chat with their team. They've been in business since 1975, so they got 50 years of experience dealing with all kinds of automobile wrecks. They're located in Capitol View, Nashville, and they're local, but they can fight for anybody in Kentucky or Tennessee that's been in an auto accident. Led by Blair Durham, a Marine veteran, a great Tennessean, doing things right over there at Bart Durham Injury Law.
Do us a favor this morning. Leave us a 5-star Google review. It's that Lou Man special. So, like the show, subscribe on YouTube, but leave us a 5-star Google review as well. It helps us out a ton. Just go A to Z Sports, drop that review. If you like the show, you watch the show, you want to help us promote the show a little bit, it goes a very long way. So do that for us this morning while we get set to talk a little bit about Will Levis and the trade destinations for him, Easton.
Yeah, so where to start on this? Because there's layers. I think the first thing that we will ask is which team makes the most sense as a Will Levis trade partner. And I've got some notes on these teams, so I'm going to go ahead and send it in the chat. And if folks just have a strong feeling already, feel free to let them fly. But if you want to hold your question, or hold your answer to the question, I should say, until I've had a chance to kind of run us through some of these teams, I think that's appropriate as well. Sam, I have identified, I think this is 12 total teams that could make some sense for a Will Levis trade. So roughly a third of the league. Now, some of these teams we're going to talk about, and I'm going to tell you why on paper it seems like, could be a Levis spot. And then the reason why, probably not actually, when you consider the larger context. But I guess let's just, before I run down through them, do you come into this conversation with a strong feel? Or are you
no,
not? You don't know?
No,
Okay.
no real idea. That definitely one of the things that I've been sort of tuned out to recently has been I guess the low level NFL transaction wire. So like where like sort of these backup quarterbacks have gone and what the current backup situation is for a lot of teams. So I am relatively in the dark about this one. I know what some teams have. Like, I think if you ask me, hey, who does this team have at quarterback? I could probably tell you, but nobody comes to mind as like a potential suitor for Will Levis.
Well, you know what? Let's actually, I'm seeing a lot of comments rolling in here. So let's roll through them in the order that you guys have presented them. Jonathan starts us off with the Rams. The Rams, they got Stafford under contract, older guy.
Where did Jimmy Garoppolo go?
Jimmy is with the Rams.
I would say he went back to the Rams, right?
Yep, 1 year deal, $3 million they're paying him. And then they've also got Stetson Bennett, who's under contract through 2027, but he's being paid nothing and doing nothing for the team. So on paper, I think that this makes a lot of sense. The reason why I think they are a less likely destination is because I don't think Sean McVay wants anything to do with Will Levis. I don't think,
really?
I don't think that Levis is I don't think he's the prototype of quarterback that McVay likes. McVay is somebody that wants somebody that's going to execute his offense. He wants somebody that is going to do the thing when he's told to do the thing and not be freewheeling. And with Stafford, he gets away with some freewheeling because he's awesome and can execute the offense. But with Levis, I just don't think that's his cup of tea. Maybe as a reclamation project, he sees him in a different camp, but in a guy that is potentially going to play football for him, I just don't know if he's a perfect fit for a McVay offense. So I kind of think it's less likely.
I've actually always thought Levis and McVay would actually be a wonderful fit. Levis is the junior version of Matt Stafford in a lot of ways with like, I mean, but that
no,
is
I know.
I like, so I think it's a more 1-for-1 sort of scheme fit than a Jimmy Garoppolo potentially is as a guy to like come in and run the offense. I don't think you'd have to change much in the offense with if Levis is taking it up. He probably executes it significantly worse than Stafford for sure.
Yeah.
But there's the Liam Cohen connection as well. Liam Cohen called plays, or I guess it had his fingerprints all over the offense for Sean McVay at a certain point. Cohen had a ton of success with Levis in college. They use a lot of play action in LA, which I think is one of Levis's bread and butter is those play action passes where he's able to take a lot of shots, and he's a shot taker. So an offense like the Rams that throws a lot of deep balls, I think could make some sense for him. So
okay, we'll keep going here.
The only reason I would be, I guess, less inclined to believe that this is possible is the fact that they brought back Jimmy Garoppolo.
Right.
So, like you're bringing in Levis to be a quarterback 3. Mm-hmm. And I think, a team with a little bit more of an empty room or a less upside room probably is a better fit.
Agreed. So Steven Crocio says the Pittsburgh Steelers, they're included automatically on this list because they are, you'll realize here in a minute that there's a group of the teams on my list who are on here primarily because when the Joe Milton trade happened, that's one that, did you catch that one? The Milton trade for the Patriots to the Cowboys. Milton is not a Cowboy.
That was not the team I was expecting to hear.
And it was for more than you think. I think the Patriots sent a 7th and Milton for a 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So they got something in return. And he is now a Cowboy.
So Milton is what? The backup for Dak now. Where's Cooper Rush? Is he still there? No, he's a free agent.
No, he actually signed with somebody, I think because I think he's on this list somewhere. But
where's Trey Lance?
Lance is in L.A. with the Chargers.
Oh, okay. I missed that one at some point too.
Yeah, pretty sure he's a Charger. So yeah, they moved off of him. So anyways,
this is
the reason I bring up Milton is because when that finally happened, there was a group of teams that were reported to be heavily involved in bidding for Milton, and the Steelers were one of them. And so the Steelers right now, not only are they a team that had interest in Milton, and that I think if you had interest in Milton, that kind of puts you in the camp of maybe interest in Levis. They are paying our good friend Mason Rudolph $3 million on a 2-year deal through 2027, and Skylar Thompson paying him nothing on a 1-year deal that ends after this season. So I think that they, their quarterback situation is very much in flux. They're just waiting on Rodgers at this point and maybe drafting a rookie. So it's very TBD, but I wouldn't rule out them at least considering Levis depending on what happens with these other situations.
So is that their whole room right now? Is Rudolph and Thompson?
And they're kind of penciling in Rodgers, hoping and praying.
Yeah, or a rookie, as you said. I don't see this one happening. This is not what I don't know. This one doesn't make sense to me. Bringing in Levis again when you have Skylar Thompson and Mason Rudolph, and you're planning to add at least one quarterback. I'm not sure. I think the Steelers could maybe make this move if they flop and fail to convert on Rodgers or a quarterback in the first round. That's worth a damn. So I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think I see this one though.
Bearded Kunu says the Saints. This is not a team on my list of 12 teams. I don't think they fit the bill because of a couple of reasons. First of all, we know that they're paying Derek Carr $17 quadrillion to be
and
on
they
their
have a
roster
young
this
upside
year.
backup.
Right. They have, I think we kind of forgetting the Spencer Rattler of it all. So I think they're good there. And I think they're also a team that, as we've talked about since you've been gone, Sam, if and when Shadur falls, I think the Saints at 9 are a team that I have circled, starred, and highlighted as they could get away with murder there and get, Shadur as their guy. So I don't have them on my list personally. Rams, Steelers, Rams. Let's see. Somebody, this is something. 49ers. 49ers are not on my list either. They're a team that is currently they're set with their guy, but they're currently having to figure out a negotiation for what they're wanting to pay for their guy. The reason why I didn't include them is because not only do they have their guy they're about to pay, they just went out and got Mac Jones, and that we know that's Kyle Shanahan's little favorite little boy, Mac Jones. So, I think they're good. I don't have them included here.
Yeah, I think they're fine. Purdy, Mac Jones, you don't need to give up draft capital for a third quarterback.
Here's a new one. Ira Hoshi says the Raiders, they are on this list because, again, automatic entry. They were one of the teams that was highly interested in Joe Milton. Now, they're kind of a surprise one because obviously they just went and traded for and signed Geno Smith. They've got Aiden O'Connell under contract for 2 more years, and they have everyone's favorite Nepo baby, Carter Bradley, paying him nothing through 2026, so a 1-year deal. So, I'm going to include them because, again, they were one of just a couple of teams that were strongly interested in Milton. Even if I don't quite understand it, I think that they get included. And they also have a lot of draft picks, which is going to come into play when we talk about here in a minute what you could get for Will Levis. So I'm going to put him on the list. I don't know if it's necessarily super likely, but
yeah, I don't see that one either. Sure, auto entry on the list for the interest in Joe Milton, but I think you'd rather have Aiden O'Connell or Geno Smith than Will Levis. So again, it's hard for me to see Easton any of these teams where I think Levis is like the auto QB3, the de facto QB3. It's hard for me to see it, especially if you've made the investment in the QB2 this offseason. And so, you went out and got Geno Smith. They like Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell actually not bad, not a bad quarterback. So you have 2 guys who you would definitely prefer over Will Levis. I don't see the need to trade for him.
Here we got Coach Will saying Arizona and Miami dark horse teams. Now, I do have Miami on the list. They have a bunch of picks this year, and they currently only have Tua under contract, who they're about to pay a gajillion dollars to, and maybe they need an off-ramp for him or want an off-ramp for him. And they have Zach Wilson, who they just paid $2 million to on a 1-year deal. So just a 1-year deal, paying him very little. I'm going to include them on the list, but Arizona is a team that I didn't have on the list, and
I like Arizona. I like that idea a lot.
Hang on, there must have been a reason why I didn't, but you talk about why you like it.
Well, I just think who's in the quarterback room for Arizona here?
That's what I'm pulling up.
You got Kyler Murray. Is their backup?
Oh, this is why. Because they went and they paid Jacoby Brissett a bunch of money.
Yeah. I think, they did go and get a veteran. I think Arizona is a team, though, they could maybe have a benefit to a younger, more higher upside backup.
Than Clayton Tune.
Yeah.
That's number 3 right now.
So I could see Arizona for sure. They have an injury-prone quarterback, as Kyler has missed some time. It's the same reason for Miami for me, right? Tua is probably going to miss some games next year. And I think Will Levis could beat out Zach Wilson for a backup job. I don't think that is out of the realm of possibility.
And that's why I have Miami on there for sure.
You add some competition to that backup room with 2 younger guys who were, highly thought of prospects coming out that, you allow them to compete for a backup job. You hope Tua is healthy for all 17. And if he's not, you see what kind of upside you have in Wilson on a 1-year deal, Levis with multiple years remaining, of control on his deal. So I like both of those. Yeah.
I like Miami. I do not like the Arizona one personally, but we can keep moving here. Let's see. Zedine says the Raiders. Cap says the Steelers. Jason says the Colts. They like their QB projects. They are not going to be trading for Will Levis after they just spent $14 million on Danny Dimes. Cristoforo says the Vikings or the Jets. Those are two teams that I have on this.
Random carousel question. Where'd Joe Flacco sign?
Nowhere.
Nowhere yet? Okay.
I don't think so. Chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think nowhere. The Vikings are on here. Now, the Vikings are tough because I don't know if folks know this. They only have 4 picks in this entire draft class, a 1, a 3, a 5, and a 6. So it's difficult. Yeah, I don't think that they would trade for Levis if it meant, I know they wouldn't trade for Levis if it meant giving up a pick this year. But they have
who's the backup in Minnesota right now?
Right. So they got McCarthy, who big question marks right now as their starter. And then the only other guy under contract is Brett Rippon, who they're paying nothing to on a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense on paper, and I think it makes a lot of sense in terms of fit. I just think that their draft situation is a disaster. Maybe they're the trade team in August.
They picked up Brett Rippon, at the very end of training camp last year. He was a late roster cut by Chicago, and they scooped him up, kept him there. They like Brett Rippon, sort of a guy who you like the fit in the room. I think you like sort of the knowledge that he brings to your quarterback room a little bit more than you maybe like the on-field product that Rippon brings. So I think, yes, certainly a roster fit there, but you probably are talking about a 2026 pick. I like this one a lot, actually, because I would say, Easton, I think it is more likely that the Titans trade Levis after the draft than before the draft. And so after the draft, I think the Vikings could make sense, especially with limited picks. Like you said, maybe less likely that they draft a quarterback. Some of these teams that could use a younger, injection into the room might draft somebody in the middle rounds that they then like as their backup to add to that QB room. But Minnesota may be a team that comes away empty-handed from the draft.
Yeah, I am certainly with you that if he is a post-draft trade, I think Minnesota becomes very high on the list of possibilities. The reason why I did not have the Jets on this list, and I don't have them on the list as I'm pulling up their QB position room on Spotrac, I don't think that so they have Justin Fields and Tyrod Taylor, who Taylor is a very highly paid backup. And then a person named Jordan Travis, who I have never heard of in my life, and they're paying him nothing. But they've got a very highly paid backup, and they're also in a situation as a team where
you've never heard of Jordan Travis?
I don't think so. Oh, wait, is he the former tight end dude? Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Wait.
No, he's the Florida State quarterback.
Oh, that's right. The guy that got hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I have. He got hurt. We didn't talk about him all draft cycle, and then he disappeared in my mind. You're right. You're right.
Okay. Right. I was a little stunned there for a minute. I'm like, wait, we have to have heard of Jordan Travis. He was like a Heisman favorite preseason.
We have heard of Jordan Travis. My bad. But he's worth nothing, so he's on their team. I don't think that they're a team that's really in a position to, like, from a team building standpoint, it doesn't make sense for them to move on a Levis guy. Like, I think that they're in a transitional period where they've got a highly paid backup and a highly paid guy that may be a backup who's going to be their starter. What does adding Levis to this room do for them? I just don't really get it. I don't think it makes sense.
I could see it only because I think the Jets are like throwing stuff at the wall right now.
Okay.
Bad
process move. Yeah.
That is, maybe that's different under
maybe I'm giving them too much credit. That's fair.
But the Jets I think they're really desperate to sort of like fix this situation and figure out what it's going to be. And Levis would be a decent fit for the idea that like Fields doesn't like competition. I don't think they want to bring in steep competition, but Levis is a guy with starting experience that doesn't exactly pose an immediate threat to Justin Fields. It's just the scheme fit is a little bit questionable there because, like, hello, different offense, but with Justin Fields at quarterback and Will Levis at quarterback.
All right, let's keep flying through these. The Zedro says Patriots for everyone as a guy back. I don't think so. They also just went and they traded for the Pastronaut. They're paying him to be on the roster now, so they got their backup. But yeah, never say never.
Astronaut.
The Pastronaut. Yeah, that's what they call him. You know who I'm talking about.
I do, but I've never heard Pastronaut.
You've never heard? Oh, yeah.
I've heard astronaut. I don't know if I've ever heard Pastronaut.
Well, Pastronaut is way more fitting for the NFL quarterback. Either way, I don't see that one happening. Let's see. Here's one. I have these guys surprisingly high on my list. Raul says Seahawks backup. The Seahawks are a team that currently have, of course, Sam Darnold under contract. And then they have Sam Howell on a 1-year deal paying him nothing, and Jaron Hall on a 1-year deal paying him nothing. So I think that, and they also are flush with draft picks this year. They got 2 2s and 2 3s, the Seahawks do.
I could see Seattle.
I think Seattle is high on my list.
I mean, would you rather have Will Levis or Sam Howell? That's a coin flip to me.
Right.
And I think they're similar in a lot of ways, and similar to what we talked about with Miami and potential competition, right? Levis comes in, competes with Zach Wilson. I could see a late round trade, put Will Levis in this room, let him compete with Sam Howell for the backup spot. And I think offense wise, pretty 1-to-1 comparison, like between what Sam Darnold can do in Seattle and an offense Will Levis would be comfortable with. A lot of play action, a lot of over the middle. I like it.
Let's see. Anybody else name teams that I have on my list here that we haven't talked about? I'm seeing a lot of repeats here. So let me just go through the ones that we've not mentioned that are on my list. I have the Falcons on here, who currently have Kirk for now, but they're gonna move him. He's gonna be a Brown, I think. They got Michael Penix and then Emory Jones, who they're paying nothing to. So they, assuming Kirk is gone, they have a 2-man room, and they need quarterback, so that's why they're on the list. The Browns, for obvious reasons, because they need. I mean, right now they have Deshaun Watson and Kenny Pickett under contract, and that's it. They have a bunch of picks as well. They have 2 3s, 4 6s somehow. How about the Lions, who have Jared Goff, who is aging? They have Hendon Hooker, who they actively and openly dislike. Kyle Allen, a 1-year deal paying him nothing, and Jake Fromm, a 1-year deal paying him nothing. So they could.
Jake Fromm is still getting a check, huh?
For at least a year, and he's right. Well, I mean, right now he's quarterback 4, so probably soon to be cut. So there's plenty of room for backup help there. This one's kind of leaning heavily on the Liam Cohen of it all, but the Jags. Hello, how about the Jaguars? They got Trevor Lawrence, of course. They've got Nick Mullins on a 2-year contract. They're paying him just $2 million. And then Wolford, they're paying him 1-year deal.
I don't hate that one.
Okay.
I don't think that's impossible.
I mean, a lot of people shoot it down because they're like, it's never happening in division. Never. I don't know, man. I don't think teams care about the in-division trades as much as you think that they do.
Especially if it's a player that you don't think is very good. Like, right. I mean, if you're the Titans and you're out on Will Levis and his ability,
what's the risk?
You think, hey, this guy's not going to help us win. He's actively hurting us, right? We're down to trade him. All right, you trade him to a division rival. That's better for you. Maybe you get to face him. And
exactly.
So I think that's very possible.
All right, we talked about the Rams and the Dolphins, the Vikings, the Seahawks. The Buccaneers have Baker Mayfield, and then they have Kyle Trask on a 1-year nothing burger deal, and then Michael Pratt, a 2-year nothing burger deal. So they need a real backup, which they don't currently have.
I could see Tampa as well. I like that one.
We talked about the Raiders. The Eagles are on this list for a couple of reasons. First of all, they were one of the 4 teams that had Milton interest. And 2, this is a team that we know they consider themselves a quarterback factory. They like the reclamation projects. This is a team we saw trade for Kenny Pickett in recent memory. And they currently have, of course, Hurts under contract, but then it's Tanner McKee paying him nothing on a 2-year deal, and DTR, who they were just kind of sent in a trade. I'm not sure they actually even want him. They're paying him nothing on a 2-year deal. So I could see the Eagles, because they're a team that does this.
Tanner McKee, I think, flashed a little bit at the end of the year last year, where the Eagles might feel pretty decent about him. But I don't think it's impossible. Would also be hilarious for some other reasons, but it would be hilarious.
It would be.
We don't need to talk about it, but it would be hilarious.
Be good for content. And then the last team we haven't mentioned is the Giants, who are on the list because they also had Milton interests. They, of course, have Russ under contract on a 1-year deal, Jameis on a 2-year deal, and then Tommy DeVito paying him nothing on a 1-year deal. So they're another team that's kind of like the Steelers, where it's all in flux, and that may not be able to come to fruition until the dust has settled on the current quarterback situation. So those are the teams I have: the Steelers, the Giants, the Eagles, the Raiders, the Bucks, the Seahawks, the Vikings, the Dolphins, the Rams, the Jaguars, the Lions, the Browns, and the Falcons. Over a third of the league, could big theoretically market. Make a big market. And so before we move on here to the last portion of this topic, I don't know, is there a team or two in there, Sam, that kind of sticks out to you as I think this is the team that makes sense? For me, while you think about it, for me, the teams that stick out are the Seahawks, the Bucks, and the Eagles, just because the Eagles, they tend to do these things. Those are the teams that stick out to me the most.
I like Seattle a lot, and I like Miami a lot. I think those are, and I'll throw a third one in there, Minnesota. I just think when you look at rosters, I don't think there's a better roster fit than Minnesota right now. They don't really have a backup. Like they're just sitting on Brett Rippon. Yes, they could draft somebody, sure. But even if you draft somebody, I do tend to think teams are not super inclined to have a guy who is, for all intents and purposes, a rookie starting at quarterback and a rookie as the backup quarterback, which is what you would have. JJ McCarthy never having played in a regular season NFL game. So I think having a guy who is younger in Levis, but somebody who has at least had some starting experience, that has some upside, that can work with, a quarterback whisperer and Kevin O'Connell and, maybe get the best out of him. I think that makes the most sense on paper. And is a team really going to give up a pick before or during the draft for Will Levis? I have some doubts about that. So I think Minnesota makes a lot of sense.
Okay, well, that brings us to our last portion of the topic. We've identified the teams that could trade for Levis. Now the question becomes, what could you get for Levis? And we've talked about this a little bit on the show a couple weeks ago, but we're going to revisit this. We're going to look at, I've got a graphic with some of the most recent quarterback trades, kind of to have a frame of reference on this. And we'll talk about what we think the Titans could get either pre or post draft for Levis, but not until I tell the folks about the Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, boneandjointtn.org. Whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust. And we trust the Bone and Joint center over here in Franklin, Tennessee, located just off of I-65. They got over a dozen specialists who can help you get through any type of injury. The Bone and Joint Institute has a state-of-the-art rehab facility on campus to help you get your recovery going, and they can do everything under that one roof with a clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, and rehab, all in that same wonderful building, which you can see from the interstate. To schedule an appointment, go to boneandjointtn.org today, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedics and sports medicine.
Do us a favor, leave a like on that show. The like number is good. It's good, but it's fine. It's not great. It's not where we need it to be. So leave a like on that show. Help Easton and I out here on a Thursday morning. If you're watching on YouTube as well, don't forget to hit subscribe to that YouTube channel. Get notifications when A to Z Sports is going live, because we are live every morning. We also have videos going up from Easton and I in the afternoons to just kind of like dive into all of this draft content that we need to get into. You need to be the most informed person in your friend group that you know on the Titans draft options. When you're sitting there watching the draft on draft night, especially in round 2, when the Titans are on the clock at 35 and they call out a name and they say, the Titans select Princely Umanmielen, Ole Miss, edge, right? If you've watched A to Z Sports, you're going to know about Princely. You're going to know how to talk about that. You're going to be the most educated person in your friend group on it. And that's a much better way to consume and enjoy the draft than just going in blind and hoping for the best. So leave a like on the show and subscribe to the YouTube here on a Thursday. It's the peak time of year to be involved on our YouTube channel.
All right. We've sent the question in the chat. How much could the Titans get for Levis in a trade? Sam, I'll send you to the chat. What are the folks saying? What do they think the Titans could get in return for a Will Levis trade?
All right. I am trying to find the start of it right here. Ed says a 5 or a 6. Yangsty says a future 7, 6 or a 7. Fourth is the best case scenario, but more likely a 5 or a 6 from Titans Kyle. Let's see. We see a 7th from IR Hoshi, a 2026 5, a 6th if you're lucky, a 6 rounder from DeMarco, a 6, or maybe a future 5, probably a 6, a 5th rounder, 5th rounder, 5th tops, most likely a 6, 5th if you're lucky, 6th, 4th at the highest. Seems that is the area for a 5 or a 4. That's the area that people are starting to fall in. Maybe a 5th or a 6th round pick. Easton, is that accurate to you?
I think people are generally a little bit lower on this than they should be, and we're going to talk about why. I'm going to throw this graphic up right now, but I do think the range is somewhere 4th, 5th, maybe 6th round value. I think 5th is probably the sweet spot, but I would not be surprised if you could get a 4th round value. Look at some of these most recent quarterback trades that we've seen. We just saw Kenny Pickett yield a 5th and a player. Kenny Pickett, today, a 5th and a player. We've seen some lesser quarterbacks in Heineke and, of course, Willis go for a 7th. Wilson Wilson was worth practically nothing. That's kind of crazy. Wilson any 7th to get a 6th. Justin Fields got a 6th. Another Kenny. These first round pedigree quarterbacks. Kenny Pickett originally got a 3rd. They traded a 4th and Pickett for a 3rd and two future 7ths, which is insane. You saw Howell turn a 4th and a 6th into a 5th and a 6th. Wait, what? Is that right?
They traded Sam Howell for less.
I'm guessing I put this in here backwards. Probably traded a 5th and a 6th for a 4th and a 6th. Would make more sense. And then some other guys. Josh Dobbs turned into a 5th. Josh Dobbs also turned into a 6th. He's another guy that's been traded twice. Trey Lance just straight up for a 4th when he went to the Cowboys. So, Sam, I'll ask you the question.
Yeah.
How much do you think the Titans could get for Will Levis in a trade? What's the round value to you?
I think it's a 6, and I think, you can hope at the high end for a 5. I think Will Levis for a 5th could make sense, depending on if you can find a team that's got an extra one lying around. I think probably a 5th rounder is where you're at right now. I think the good news for the Titans about Levis is I think the sample size is small enough that teams could still be convinced of upside. Some of these guys, when you're Taylor Heineke, you're right. Hey, jury has decided on what you are here. And so teams are trading not that much for you. Sam Howell had an absolute disaster of a full season. And Levis, while last season was close to a disaster season for him, there was a segment of 5-6 games right in the middle of the year that he was playing very competent football as the Titans starting quarterback. I think the sample size it's still small enough that you could sell some teams on the upside of a, former, highly touted prospect. And if Mac Jones is able to get a 6th, then Kenny Pickett can get a 5th and a player, right? I think a 5 for Will Levis is not unrealistic.
Yeah, that's where I ultimately come down as well. And I've kind of buried the lead here. I mentioned at the top of the show, this is what my brain is percolating on. I think the Titans would be, and I think they should be wise to work hard to move Levis in this draft class, because I do not think it's impossible for them to stay at their pick at 35 in the second round and still get a 3rd round pick in a pick swap with Levis. I don't think it would be impossible for, let me just pull a team out of the hat here. Let's say Seattle is the spot that they decide they want to trade for Levis. Seattle has a 1, 2 2s, 2 3s, a 4, 5, a 7, and a 7. So what if Seattle said, okay, we'll send you our late 3, so pick whatever, 85 or whatever it is, for Levis and a 5th, which would be, I checked this earlier, the trade chart value would be roughly the value of a 5th round pick. And so they move back from the 3rd to the 5th to get Levis. And the reason why I think people are underestimating, why would they do that? A team that is looking in this draft class to potentially draft a rookie quarterback, I think in the 3rd or the 4th round, is liable to look at the board and look up and say, our options here are either spend our 3rd round pick on Riley Leonard, or whoever the heck you decide you do, Tyler Shuck,
Will
whoever it
Howard,
is, Will Howard, whoever it is you want, or I guess we kind of don't want. Or we can just send it for Will Levis, or we can send it for Levis and still keep the pick, just downgrade it to a 5th. What's the better pick? What's the better value here? And I don't think it's crazy for some teams to say, we'd rather go for the guy that's in the league already. I don't see it with these guys with this class, and we need a quarterback. We need a young guy, and Levis fits that bill. So, and maybe a third 5th pick swap is too rich. Maybe it's the Titans turn the Titans have 2 4ths. Maybe they just turn that 4th into a 3rd.
Fine, that's where I thought it was going to be for you. I think that's more realistic. The 5 to a 3, I think, is a little rich. I think if that was on the table, the Titans would definitely jump at that opportunity.
Sure.
So I would say, I don't think it's crazy. Like, I'll give you that. I don't think it's crazy to say that that's possible, but I think a more realistic thing would be you turn one of your 4ths into a 3rd by trading Levis to a team that needs a quarterback. I could definitely see that happening. I mean, look at that list that you said. How many of these guys are Zach Wilson and a 7th for a 6th, Josh Dobbs and a 7th for a 6th, Josh Dobbs and a 7th for a 5th, Kenny Pickett and a 4th for a 3rd and a future 7th, right? That Sam
2
Howell,
future 7ths,
right? So it's packaging that player with a pick to just bump yourself up around, especially if you have if you are a team like Seattle, like you said, that has some extra picks in that area, and you're a team like the Titans that's somewhat desperate to get a pick in that range. I could see that happening. So I think that tracks for me. A 4th and Levis for a 3rd, I could see happening, which probably is also like the value of a 5th round pick or a 6th round pick. So,
well, it's all relative because it depends on where in the round you're moving, right? Like we're talking about a 3rd round pick in the late 60s, or a 3rd round pick in the 90s, or we're talking about a 4th round pick, like the Titans' first 4th round pick at 103, or their second one at 120 something. Like it's very different, but it would be a 5th or a 6th round value. I just think if you're skeptical of this, put yourself in the shoes of a team like Seattle. If they are in the 3rd round and then wanting a rookie quarterback, if you're the GM, and I tell you your options are either you can just spend your 3rd round pick on Will Howard, or you can downgrade the 3rd round pick into a 4th round pick, keep the pick, and get Will Levis.
I think that makes a lot of sense for Seattle. And, for the Titans, I think this situation is also obviously, right? We're saying the obvious part out loud here, but relative to who's on the board, right? If the Seahawks are sitting there and they have a target that they like, maybe it's not a quarterback, but maybe there's somebody that they really like with their 3rd round pick, they're not going to trade it for Will Levis. And, vice versa. If the Titans are not super pumped about the guys that are still on the board in that 3rd round, they don't have one of their targets right there for them, then they're probably less incentivized to make a deal to bump themselves up to the 3rd round to go and get a guy that they don't love. But maybe there's a guy that the Titans really do like. And now, hey, send it. Like, let's go make this happen. Let's go get somebody that we're excited about here. So it's relative to the board, obviously. Anytime you're talking about trades that are happening during the draft, it's all about, taking gambles on who will or won't be there a few picks later.
All right. So you know what? I'm going to write a mock draft today, and it's going to do just this, and we'll see how that looks and what we think about it. So there we go. I think that's today's show. We only have one thing left to do here.
Yeah. Well, super chats real quick before we get to trivia. So Kick It to the King says, for one game in 2025, you can choose one alternate. The Oilers look again or debut a new Titan Red alternate. Which do you choose?
Oilers, easy. I know fans love the red alternate. Like, it's a big thing. The Titans even sold them for some time. Maybe they still do. I don't know.
They've never worn them though, right?
No, they're not a real thing. They're a novelty item. They're not a approved NFL thing. I don't like them personally. So easily Oilers for me.
I'm sure red. Why not? I mean, like, ownership would go with red. Like, another jersey that you can sell. And
there's more money. It's a good point.
Yeah. So I mean, red alternate, sure.
All right.
This feels a little Color Rush-esque to me.
This certainly is Color Rushy.
But why not? Why not? All right, I like it. Andre says, need a Royals versus Tesla convo.
Tesla.
Is Tesla? Is that how we say it? Tesla.
Yeah. Why does it need to be a versus? Well, why can't we just love both of these players for what they are? Which is
Yeah.
Great
I mean,
value receivers. Hello.
I think that's what the conversation would be, Andre. Like, I love Royals. Easton loves Tesla.
Mhm.
We both probably like each other's player
I
enough,
do.
and
Yeah.
they have different values in the draft. Like, if you told me the Titans were picking at 85, they should take Royals instead of Tesla at 85.
Right.
If you told me that they were picking at 50, right? Maybe Royals is a bit of a reach now, and Tesla is a different type of player because he's got different value on when you could get him versus his impact. So this is not necessarily an apples to apples situation for a versus conversation, but two guys that are certainly on our radar here at A to Z Sports ahead of the draft.
That's right.
Eric says, random news, both teams will get the ball in overtime in the regular season now. My thoughts. Sure. I like that. I do actually. Yeah, I do like this a lot.
Good.
I speaking just from like a Bears fan point of view here, because it's my most recent memory of like overtime in the regular season. The Bears had a game this past year that Caleb Williams pulled off an incredible comeback. I think they scored a touchdown, got a 2-point conversion, kicked an onside, scored a touchdown, got the onside and got into field goal range and got 11 points in like 40 seconds and tied the game. And that's thrilling. And then the Vikings scored a touchdown on the first possession of overtime, and Caleb never got the ball back. And
Which sucks.
Just like, oh man, you pull off the miracle. You want to get a chance to finish the job. So for every fan base that has ever dealt with that sort of moment, like if you force overtime, you deserve a chance with the ball in overtime. I like that. Do we think this will impact decisions at the end of the game? Because probably you're going to see more conservative approaches at the end of the game, no?
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
Like there's no more, I think we're going to see a lot less of those like road teams that are like, all right, well, we're playing for the win. Like you saw what New England did this year against the Titans, where they score and then they're going for two all of a sudden to try and win the game. Probably less likely than when you can just be like, right, well, we'll take it to overtime and get our shot then.
Agreed. That rules change reminded me of the biggest national narrative you missed was we did like 7 straight days on the tush push, which was just really annoying.
We did. We're still doing it.
Yeah, and it was all because it got a lot of traction at the owners' meetings to get banned. And then it ended up getting 16 of the required 24 votes. And so they tabled it. We have to do it all over again later this summer at the next owners' meeting.
All right.
They didn't even kill it. They just tabled it.
I mean, where are you on the tush? I don't want to do tush push talk, but like, where are you on it?
You can't ban it. It's so lame. You can't ban just the play. If you want to fundamentally change the sport, you can't ban the tush push. You have to ban pushing any player forward.
Right. That's where I've always been confused on it is like everybody wants it banned, but what does banning the tush push mean? Right. What exactly are you banning? What action are you banning? Are you banning pushing a player forward? In which case you are, as you said, fundamentally changing like the style of
power. No more pushing the pile.
Power running backs is like a thing. Are QB sneaks allowed? Right. Because I mean, that is a QB sneak, right? Like the idea of a QB sneak is
it can turn into a pushing but it's all about pushing the player, right?
The idea of a QB sneak, right, is that he sneaks in and squeaks the ball across the line. But like sometimes if it doesn't go well on the first effort, it becomes a push of the pile and you're trying to get your guy across. So it feels difficult to, I will say, I think the tush push is lame. Like, I hate the tush push.
It's not a fun product. I agree. But the reason why we want to ban it is because one team is better than the rest of you at it. Like, let's be real about this. Like, there was a famous soundbite from the owners' meetings of Bill's head coach, Sean McDermott, talking about how, like, it's bad, it's dangerous, we have to ban the play. And it's like, bro, I just watched your team try this play 7 times against the Chiefs. You couldn't pull it off once and you lost the game.
Yeah.
Sit this one out, bro. Like, let's sit down. Let's not talk about this one.
Well, and I'd be curious too. Like, is there now a market for there should be, by the way. Put a third quarterback on your roster that is a tush push specialist. Like where is your thick lower half running quarterback that can just like pile drive?
Who's your squat king? Who's the master of the squats in the weight room?
Exactly. I mean, think about how many different like QBs would we need to get in a time machine. Bring me back to Tim Tebow's NFL career and then just make him your tush push king.
I like that.
It extends his career by 5 years.
Right.
If you have the push for Tim Tebow.
A lot of first downs for that guy.
I'd like to see that, become a thing.
All right. Well, I think we can now officially get to some sports trivia. So let's make it happen here on a Thursday and get to some sports trivia. Shout out to our friends at Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying experience. WilsonCountyHyundai.com, I think. Not an org.com, or in Lebanon at Wilson County Hyundai. Check them out. Okay, Sam, can you pull up the sports trivia for us?
Oh, I gotta be trivia master. Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm driving, so
can you be the trivia master? Because I will say.
All right, I got it.
I'm holding the microphone, and
that's fair enough. That's fine. I'm happy to do it. I'm a team guy. You know me, team guy.
We're going to be behind on our times if I have to type with one hand. That's all I'm saying.
When we don't want that. All right, here we go. Can you hit the thing at least?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I can't do all of this once in one fell swoop.
All right. All right. Let's go.
All right. Okay, here we go.
Bang. Yeah, that was easy.
We got golf on the Masters Thursday. We got golf on the card. I'm way more likely to get the golf one than I am an MLB one. NBA.
I am not more likely to get the golf one.
I'll carry on the golf. Don't even worry about it. I hope.
Yeah, they're talking a big game now. Come on.
Cars could be tough. As a second question, we need our gearheads in the chat to lock in. I don't know how much I know.
Where are the motor heads at?
Yeah, I need this to be about the Pixar movie cars, not actual cars. But I'm not optimistic. All right, here we go. We'll start NFL. We'll go counterclockwise. Chat lock in. Need your help. Sam, are you ready?
I'm ready.
NFL. While he never broke 900 yards in the season, wide receiver Malcolm Floyd totaled over 5,500 yards this AFC franchise from 04 to 15. Malcolm Floyd.
AFC for Floyd is the Chargers.
Is that right? Are we sure?
Yeah, he was a Cardinal and a Charger.
All right. Nice. From 58 to 05, the DeVille was a full-sized luxury car model produced by this automobile brand.
Cadillac.
That sounds right.
I know nothing about cars, but I know like the names of them, which brands they are.
That's
Cadillac DeVille.
This CBS military police procedural has been running since 03 and had a Mark Harmon in a lead role. That is NCIS.
Shout out Mark Harmon.
Back in its day.
Shout out to all my NCIS friends that were in the Paramount Stars bracket challenge with me. They beat me in the end on the Florida win. Tough. Ashton Kutcher and Natalie Portman, no strings attached.
That is no strings attached.
Always confused with Friends with Benefits. It's
because they came out the same year, and it's the same movie.
It's the same movie with Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis in them, but not together, ironically.
Right.
So
Mark Hoppus is the co-founder, co-lead vocalist, and lead bassist of this band that was formed in '92. No idea.
Blink 182.
Is that right?
Yes.
They were formed that long ago, huh? Wow. Chain restaurants. The Frito chili cheese wrap, quarter-pound double cheeseburger, and premium chicken bites can be found at this fast food chain's Car Hop Classics menu. Well, that gives it away. Sonic.
I would not have gotten that without the
Car Hop.
Car Hop. Yeah.
This legendary English golfer was a 6-time major champion and won the Masters 3 times, taking home the green jacket in 89, 90, and 96.
No idea.
Golfer. I'm sure I'll know when I hear it from the chat. But this is, I've not been paying attention to golf in the 90s. Was it Nick Faldo? It may have been Nick Faldo. Can somebody confirm if it's, was it Langer?
Faldo from Josh? I have no idea.
Faldo and Langer are both, I think it's Faldo. They're both Masters winners, though. Nick Faldo. NBA, this team was the Eastern Conference 1 seed during the 21 playoffs, but got upset by Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks in the conference semifinals. Was that the Knicks?
Philly.
Oh, was it Philly? Okay, that's right. All right, here we go. Ooh.
Okay.
The guy I recognize.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah.
I think it's Bradley Cooper and Kate Winslet.
You are a savant when it comes to these. Are we sure about Kate Winslet?
That's Mayor of Easttown right there. I recognize her face anywhere.
Wow. 237, 9 for 9.
Wow. That was an effort. Great job.
And we riffed. We didn't even go as fast as we possibly could have. We were talking about bracket challenges in the middle of it. That's incredible.
On golf. Great job on golf by the chat. Austin was on the golf one in the chat. He had Nick Faldo.
Well, Austin, as a member of a much older generation than we, is going to know 90s golf more than me. That's fair. The old man knows the old golf. Yeah, we had, dude. Yesterday, Ryan and I had the Tom from Succession. Do you know this actor?
I don't. I've never seen Succession, so I have no idea.
We had two people yesterday that we didn't know either of them. It was a disaster of a celebrity mashup. This was much more mainstream.
How was Ryan at trivia?
He's fine. He pulls his weight. He does. Again, we just had a nightmare.
You're picking a partner, Austin or Ryan, for trivia.
I gotta throw someone under the bus here.
I asked the question.
I'm probably picking Austin because of, again, the old man has a different generational knowledge skill set than Ryan does. Ryan and I have too much overlap.
Austin has very like niche knowledge too. Like there's things that Austin is just like a savant about that he's got. Random SEC facts. He's got that for days.
He does. And we lean on that heavily. All right, that's our show today. We'll be back, or I think Sam and Austin will be back tomorrow. So that'll be an exciting.
Yeah, me and Austin tomorrow.
No idea what you're going to talk about, but you're going to find something super exciting, and you're not going to want to miss it here on the A to Z Sports YouTube channel. So for Sam, I'm Easton. Subscribe, like before you go. Check out the videos we have running later today, and then tomorrow morning, same place, same time. We'll talk to you then.